times when it's good to sit down all alone and have a nice steaming cup of coffee, or a glass of cold milk or pop. But then there are times when you'd like to do the same thing, but not alone. You need a friend to share this special time with you. That's if you have a friend. Some people don't have a someone they're close to, and whatever they do, they have to do it alone. Not a nice feeling when you have no choice about it. But friendships are made in interesting ways, like this one, for instance.
Young, sporty shoes. Cultured. The partying type. Comfortable in a fast lane. Too good to get their souls dirty. But there comes a time when even the best get dirty. Hopelessly marred. Trashed. But wait, there's someone who cares. The shoemaker, the one that knows the most about shoes. Like God, who more than anyone else loves the people he made, people in trouble. The great restorer. And besides, nothing fits quite like an old shoe, right?
Snobbishness aside and friends at last. How nice. I'll be back with the story of a spare tire. The spare tire in a car almost never gets used. That doesn't mean it isn't just as important as the other tires, but it must be a lonely life.
Dear Mr. Lonely Hearts, I feel used. Whenever anyone wants some help or needs to borrow something, they come to me. For everything, like my VCR, my recipes, my jogging shoes, my car, even my house cover. Next thing you know, they'll ask for my contact lenses. Half the time, they don't bring back what they borrowed until I remind them. I'll tell you, it's lonely being the neighborhood supplier, and I never get any thanks for it.
People can feel just like that spare tire. They get lonely when they're taken for granted and no one seems to care about them. Yet they're doing their job faithfully, and they are important. They have their own special place and worth. Struggling and thinking about this can lead to answers.
I never did have a lot of friends. I'd love to have friends, but I can't stand getting teased all the time. I've been teased about one thing or another all my life. The way I dress, the color of my hair. And there was never any doubt about it. I was no athlete. Nobody ever paid any attention to me. I know why, too. I'm not interesting to people. I just bore them. Nothing exciting ever happens to me, so what is there to say? Can you blame them for ignoring me? I feel like an idiot half the time. Like, what do you say after hello? I know I'm not a good athlete, or what? And since I don't know what they're interested in, how can I say anything that will interest them? Especially when they're all such good athletes. I wish people who have it made would be more understanding of someone like me. I don't want to go around feeling sorry for myself, but it is lonely being me. But then, not everyone makes it good out there either. I wonder what it's like for a star to fall. Maybe they're lonely sometimes too. Well, I can't quit now. Press on, keep trying. God may have not made me an athlete, but He's got to have something in mind for me. Whatever it is, I'm going to keep on looking.
The track ahead may seem empty and long, but it's a start. We'll see more of how other people face their loneliness after this. People who lived in Bible times didn't have the support systems we have today, like life insurance and government programs. To be left without a provider was often a scary experience. Here's a story from the book of Ruth in the Bible about someone who trusted God to help.
Elimelech and Naomi lived with their 2 sons in a foreign country. One day, Elimelech the father died, and Naomi, his wife, became an instant single parent. The time came when her 2 sons grew up and married 2 of the local girls. But soon the sons died too. This meant that there were now 3 widows. Naomi, the mother-in-law, decided that it was time to go back to her homeland of Israel. Since her daughters-in-law would be foreigners there, she urged them to stay back. One of them agreed, but the other one, Ruth, had become so attached to her mother-in-law that she insisted on coming along. "Don't urge me to leave you," she said. "Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." So, the 2 of them traveled the long, lonely road to the older woman's homeland. but they came with almost no belongings. They had no income and nothing to eat. Perhaps I can go into the fields of some kind farmer to pick up the free grain that the harvesters have missed, Ruth said. All right, dear daughter, go ahead, said the older woman. So she did. The name of the farmer who owned the field she worked in was Boaz. When he came home from the city, he saw this foreign girl collecting grain in his field. He asked his foreman about her. Listen, my child, he said to her, stay here with us to pick up grain. Don't think of going to any other farmer's fields. You'll be safe here. She thanked him warmly. Boaz went on, I've been told about all the love and kindness you've shown to your mother-in-law, looking after her since you came here as a stranger. May the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, bless you for it. The next day, Boaz told his harvesters to snap off some of the heads of grain and drop them on purpose for her. Later, when Ruth told her mother-in-law about their good fortune, Naomi said, Praise the Lord for a man like that. God has continued his kindness to us. And so Ruth kept on caring for her aging mother-in-law. But that's not the end to this true story. Something very special was happening between Ruth and the farmer Boaz. They were falling in love. Soon they were married and eventually had a son. This son grew up too and had a line of descendants. As it turned out, one of them was a very special descendant who was born in Bethlehem. He was Jesus, God's own dear son.
People today can turn to God for help too. Jesus, his son, is the best friend that we can have. He is the one who gives comfort when we come to him with our troubles. Here's someone who did and wasn't disappointed.
Mary Walker lives here in this senior citizens apartment building. It's a cozy place, and she has a lot of nice friends. But life hasn't always been easy for her. She and James Walker were married in 1943. They had 2 children, Jimmy and Marilyn, 13 and a half months apart. Typical children, Jimmy and Marilyn were always busy and happy, but the parents began to notice something unusual about them. They were bright mentally, but slow physically. When they should have crawled, they didn't, and when they should have walked, they couldn't. They couldn't even turn over in bed. They were born with a bad muscle condition. The Walkers took them to doctor after doctor, but nothing helped. In January 1950, they put them in a special hospital. It was a heartbreak for the parents to part with them, and worse still to visit them that first Sunday. But Jimmy and Marilyn adjusted well. They were in a small room together where they were given a variety of treatments and medicines. Mary Walker recalls those times. They enjoyed life, and we enjoyed them tremendously. We looked forward to the day when they would come home again, she says. But it wasn't meant to be. At Easter time of that same year, Jimmy and Marilyn both came down with terrible colds and flu. Pneumonia set in, and on April 11th, Marilyn died. Jimmy had pneumonia too. Mary remembers how the doctor took her hand in his and said, "We can't do any more. It's in the hand of a greater power than ours." 2 days after Marilyn's death, Jimmy died. The same minister who married James and Mary Walker conducted the double funeral of their 2 beloved children. In Mary's own words, the little choir sounded like a choir of angels. It was wonderful how God gave us the strength and courage to bear such sorrow. Underneath were his everlasting arms. One night, shortly after the funeral, Mary and James sat in their kitchen and turned on the radio. A song came on that they had never heard before.
Beyond the sunset, oh glad reunion, with our dear loved ones who've gone before. In that fair homeland, we'll know no parting. Beyond the sunset, forever.
that the song was planned just for them. Life went on, and 2 years later, new joy came to the Walker home when little Barry was born. He too started out happily, but after 2 months it became evident that he wasn't as active as he should be. A specialist confirmed their fears. Barry had the same muscular disease as his brother and sister had. But Barry was just as busy and clever and happy as Jimmy and Marilyn had been. The Walkers accepted him as a treasure too, loaned to them for a few short years, and it seemed that he had a lot to do in a short time. When Barry was 4 years old, the Walkers adopted Marlene. She and Barry were wonderful companions for each other. The family was very happy. But the inevitable happened. Although he lived twice as long as the doctors predicted, Barry died at the age of 10. Mary says now that with losing her children, life would have seemed cruel and useless if she had not placed her faith in God who carried her. She knows that she will see her loved ones again, and that's a comfort. Sometimes I have felt that the loss of a loved one was more than I could bear, she says. However, there was always that deep inner peace which God alone can give and which no one can take away. Again, in her own words, I remember one day that winter after Barry died telling myself there wasn't a God, or if there was, why did he allow so much sorrow in one family? But you know, there was always this deep inner peace in my heart, so I knew that God lives, loves, and understands us, and supplies strength for each day. A comforting verse she found in the Bible is, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." One day, several years later, James Walker got a bad case of the flu, or so everybody thought. Mary had a dream one night. In the dream, someone tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Jim's worse." All of a sudden, she saw many people around her offering sympathy. In the dream, she was crying, "Oh no, not again." She awoke and found Jim sleeping. A few days later, he died of a massive heart attack. Fortunately, there was still Marlene, and mother and daughter comforted each other because they needed each other so much. Mary Walker thought that she would never take an interest in life again, but she found a purpose in a job with care services. She had been praying for a job. She had a strong desire to cheer someone who was lonely after all the loneliness she herself had experienced. She could now understand others. Through this work, she found a great deal of happiness. Today, she says, I found a new purpose in life. God knows our needs. He truly understands human suffering. He's able to supply our every need.
A story like that shows us how important it is to be a friend to someone who really needs it. I'll be back. I hope that in this program you've seen how alone people can feel. It's important for us to keep our eyes open and be friends to people who are lonely. And if we're lonely ourselves and no one seems to care, we're still not alone. Jesus cares. He wants to be our friend. Speaking of being a friend, I'd like to hear from you. Tell me something about yourself or what you learned from this program. If you do, I'll send you this survival kit. It has just what you need to be a friend. Some cards to send, a cartoon book about the third story, and a book of the Bible to help you get to know God better. There are some other things too. Write us here at The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'll be waiting to hear from you.